Section 371. Deleted. Now, we will have a fairly brief session, simply because I am adjusting my techniques of therapy according to Ruber's reactions. For a while, however, none should be missed, except for very good cause. The reaction following sessions has simply been the arousal of antagonism. The symptoms have been a defense against the sort of self-enlightenment that I am now giving in the sessions. There is then a natural reaction at times, as those tendencies in the personality that adopted the symptoms actually struggle to retain them. A dislike of me for ripping away the veil of secrecy, for with the veil down the symptoms must disappear. I will judge therefore the duration of any given session in this light. Now, the late affairs with the table have been good training on Ruber's part, and given him a release of energies that is acceptable and beneficial. It has also opened up a new line of inquiry for him, and much more will come from this, both on your part and Ruber's. Rub said, "Well, I see you are still being allowed to discuss these matters." Seth said, "There is no serious blockage now." He has forgotten the peanut oil, however, and this is a good aid, for the arts particularly. His abilities have been developing rather rapidly of late, and this shows a basic inner improvement, a lack of previous blockage that will soon be more distinguishable in physical terms. This evening's explosion on his part did represent an advance. He would not have let himself spontaneously express his anger in so direct a fashion earlier. Rob notes, when Jane got mad at me after supper tonight. Rob asked, is a part of his personality still actually trying to block this material? Seth said, not actively. It is difficult to explain. The symptoms themselves cause certain chemical changes that have an effect then on the personality itself. If the self accepts the symptoms, and in all cases of illness to some extent or another, this is true, then paradoxically a portion of the self identifies with the symptoms. To rip away the symptoms becomes a ripping away of a portion of the self, even if a most disagreeable portion. The procedures immediately call for new growth on the part of the self, to replace what is being taken away, and to replace it in a more constructive fashion. This necessitates finding the causes for the symptoms, backtracking, really to the point before the symptoms' appearance, and facing problems now that would not be faced then. The symptoms represent in all cases one attempt, one method of solving the existing problems. The personality must become aware of the efficiency of such a method. Now, in some cases, a physical illness is the best solution for various reasons having to do with reincarnational influences and the inner lack of balance of the personality. In Ruber's case, this is not so. We are trying to make him see the basic difficulty and give him a solution that is acceptable. He should make every effort to understand them consciously as well as emotionally. Rob asked, is he? Seth said, he is progressing. The desperation caused by the symptoms became greater than the problem behind them. This alone showed him that his solution was wrong. The nature of his own individuality makes it impossible for him to accept such a solution. Therefore, he had to seek others. This is a case where his curiosity stands him in good stead. Rob asked, "Is there any large area of this material that he is relatively opaque to, consciously?" Seth said, "Give us a moment on that question." He must fully understand that while thought is action, thought cannot hurt nor help another without the consent of the other person involved. Their decision has to do with their own problems and solutions. He had nothing to do with making his mother a cripple, nor does his fear, hatred, or scorn of her keep her in that condition. He is not responsible for the fact that his father left his mother. Now, he did contribute, but no more than many others, and the main circumstances were chosen by the mother and the father. Robert's birth did not cause his mother to become an invalid. These facts have not been blocked, but withheld. There is a difference. He believes strongly in the power of thought. The Catholic Church judges evil thoughts as evil deeds, and to some extent this is valid. But every man has a strong, domineering, and definite voice in his own destiny, and he accepts and reacts to those influences of his own choosing. Rob notes, Jen lay out flat on the couch. They said, Robert did not therefore destroy his mother, break up her marriage. He is not responsible for the death of his grandmother, or for the death of the maid. He has always been a creative rather than destructive personality. He has done already more good than he knows. He must realize all of these points. Rob asked, how about his recent projections to Saratoga? Are these a good idea at this time? Saratoga Springs is Jen's hometown. Seth said, in these cases so far, they have been beneficial. Rob asked, could he control the destination of his projections? Seth said, he can. Rob asked, how about those vivid dreams he's had lately? It seems he's been getting instructions concerning his symptoms. Seth said, they were not vividly remembered. They were definite experience, and I was instructing him, as I have done recently. I was trying to correct certain errors. They are not egotistical errors, and so I bypassed the ego. Rob asked, were you successful? Seth said, I was partially successful. Rob notes, I was about to ask Seth what the errors were when the phone rang, interrupting the session. Jen came out of trance without shock. I answered the phone, and it was a wrong number. We took a break at 9:55. Jen resumed, sitting up again at 10 o'clock. Seth said, it is advisable that you not discuss Robert's condition after a session of this nature, but turn your minds to some other interest before retiring. If, and whenever possible, another brief, perhaps half-hour session could be held. This is only a temporary measure. Rob asked, you mean before next Monday? Seth said, at your convenience. This is merely a suggestion. The material is rather highly charged. The show session allows him to handle and dissipate effectively any reactions. This is done as we go along, and therefore does not build up. Not only how much material you get is important, but how and when. It must be assimilated and digested. Rob asked, "Can I ask a question of the subject?" Seth said, "You may." Rob asked, "What do you see when you look at me?" Rob noted, "I asked this because Jane's stare at me had been especially noticeable. Her eyes had been very dark and luminous, I thought." Seth said, "When I look at you, or when I look at you through Ruber's eyes." Rob said, "Well, first when you look at me." Seth said, "When I look at you, I see a multidimensional form in motion, a geometrical collection of highly intensified energy, with a nucleus that is your whole self. The self that you know is only a small portion of that self, backed in, so to speak, by its limited perception. Now, through Ruber's eyes, I see you as Ruber's physical eyes must, wrapped in your particular time and in your particular place, held in a unique spatial arrangement." Rob notes, "During the above two paragraphs, Jane's eyes had been open. Now they closed." Seth said, "Now, with my eyes closed, the physical matter of Ruber Bass vanishes, and the Ruber Bass is seen as one unit in all these other forms. The physical matter, of course, continues in a different fashion." Rob asked, "Very interesting. While you are looking at me through Jane's eyes, how much of her are you aware of?" Rob notes, eyes open. Seth said, "I am aware of Ruber to some extent in the same way that he is aware of his actual form when he is traveling within it, though my awareness is much stronger, and my control is more deliberate. My sense of participation is more vivid." Rob asked, "Does his poor eyesight, for instance, influence your perception of me?" Seth said, "I use the mechanism as I find it, and do not tamper with it. For any tampering would be reflected either in advancements that he was not prepared for, or in alterations for which he was not ready." Rob asked, "Do you want to say a few words about the table last night for Jane's ESP students?" Rob notes, "Last night, Jane had a very successful table tipping session with her ESP class. The table appeared to move and tilt, although her hands barely touched its top. I too sat in on the session, which lasted until midnight." Seth said, "You are involved again in the further development of Ruber's abilities and confidence. He has already learned a lesson, in that same concentration can be applied to change the condition of his own psyche and physical body." Rob notes, "Last night, Jane was especially aware of her success at concentration in getting the table to move." Seth said, "It was an excellent display of intense focus of energy and utilization of materials. I will go more deeply into the whole affair. Perhaps our next session can include, as this one has, a section on Ruber's condition first, and then a discussion of other matters. We will go directly then into the whole table affair, how and why it is done, and give the source of the energies behind the phenomena. For relaxation, you may also include a few questions on your own.